fifth generation South African. I've been involved in the safari industry for the last nearly 40 years, and we had a need for helicopters for our conservation side, and that's how we ended up here. I've been in Mozambique for 30 years. When I arrived here in 1994, it was a beautiful area. But all the large animals were just virtually not here. The turning point for us was starting a proper anti-poaching unit, which we did within a year of me getting here. The wildlife throughout Mozambique was plundered during the Civil War by all sides. For survival, the local folks lived off it, the militaries, both the rebels and the government forces harvested it above sustainability levels, and it was absolutely plundered. The delta, to give you an example, after the war in the early 90s, arguably around 2,000 buffalo. Today we are back to 30,000 buffalo.
Mark and his team oversee Safari Block Kutada 11. This includes anti-poaching and community programs to look after and protect wildlife. Over the years, the area has seen an increase in the number of animals, and Mark says it's one of the best-known comebacks in modern-day Africa. This is largely due to projects focusing on growing the habitat of wildlife, in stark contrast to many other areas where the habitat is shrinking.
We brought 24 wild lions back to Mozambique. It was the biggest movement of wild lions over an international border ever. They exceeded all expectations. We don't know exactly how many we have, but we're getting close to the magic number. So we're up there in the 80s, 90s now, and we now have one of the highest densities of wild lions in Africa today per square kilometre.
Well, this is the first male that we darted. We're going to try and get him loaded in the car here.
We've been through all of the testing to ensure that when we take these lions to Mozambique, they're healthy, they don't carry anything that would be of any consequence to local wildlife in the area. Well, the caravan's loaded. We're just getting the pilatus loaded with these 3 big males. And this will be the last load to Mozambique. Okay, this lion's waking up. We've just got to give him another hit. He's just started stirring. Just careful.
Boa-vinda dos leões a este meu território Toz. Estamos contentes pelo aparecimento com eles. Eu, Toz, também tenho espírito de leões e esses espíritos estarão junto com esses leões.
This is the culmination of more than 20 years' worth of work. After Mark visited the Zambezi Delta in 1994, that's when he first conceived the idea of repopulating the area with wildlife. But before any of this could be achieved, Mark saw how important it was to build a relationship with the local tribes, and over the years, his philanthropic efforts have cemented a strong bond and trust between them. The arrival of the lions in 2018 was more than just about boosting the numbers. It was about bringing back what the inhabitants of the region had been missing for so many years, a monumental occasion marked by dancing and singing, and showing appreciation of and respect for the king of beasts.
South Africa is notorious for all the mischief that surrounds lions. These came from wild lion stocks within South Africa. They came from reserves next to Kruger National Park, Tembe Elephant Park, Swalu in the Kalahari. So they were captured by veterinarians. They were tested for disease, rabies, feline AIDS, tuberculosis, to mention a few. Held in bomas for about 2 months in South Africa. Then they were tranquilized, laid down in the back of aircraft, Pilatus PC-12s and Cessna Caravans, out of crates with a blindfold on and with a veterinarian on board, and they were flown from the bomas to Kruger International, cleared out of South Africa there, into Beira, from Beira straight into the camp, into the bomas and camp, and woken up there. From the time they were released from the bomas was when our helicopter work started. We track them once a week. Every lion is tracked. Every pride has at least one member with a satellite tracking collar, which works via GPS and the satellites. And they also have telemetry, which allows us to track them with an antenna. So we have eyes on once a week, especially while they were settling down and setting up their home ranges. They didn't know their home ranges, so they just bombshelled everywhere. But they gravitated back towards the areas of the highest game density, and to this day they're still in the same areas.
As the game population has grown, so has the threat of poaching. The anti-poaching unit has had to adapt accordingly. They started with 10 men, then 15, and eventually expanded to 20 rangers. In Kotada 11 itself, rifle poaching is rare. Instead, rangers primarily encounter gin traps and cable snares, driven by the commercial bush meat trade, which poses their biggest challenge. While some local villagers contribute to the issue, the main culprits are outsiders who enter, poach, and leave with the meat to sell. They employ the same methods of gin traps and cable snares.
The poaching in our area is 99.9% bushmeat poaching. So it is poaching for eating. It's not rhino horn, or we don't have rhinos in our area, and it's very seldom ivory. We have had a little ivory poaching in the past. We have elephants, but that's not our biggest threat. So it's a very difficult one, because these are folks that don't have a lot of opportunities. So you have to understand where your poacher's coming from too. They're very effective. They can wipe out an area with cable snares in next to no time. So what we've actually done is it all ties in together. So the sustainable hunting side, which is scientifically derived quotas and offtakes, the meat from that goes back to the local community. So you're no longer just having a blanket poaching scenario. You're now taking specific animals out of a population. The meat goes back. On average in our block, about 35 tons a year of fresh meat goes back to the community. So that removes the need to poach to survive. That area was devoid of lions, and the whole complex is over 1 million hectares. So you hear this terminology, which is absolutely true, that lions are losing habitat. The habitat is what's killing wild lions more than anything else.
Mark and his team have delved deeper into the problem of decreasing wildlife numbers by learning and understanding why and who is poaching the animals. This relationship with the locals has secured a safer environment for the lions and increased their longevity. Taking care of the lions and their territory is paramount to ensure the survival and growth of the population, and to safeguard one of the world's most majestic creatures.